Thank you very much for that one, Dash. We are going to get right into game number 2, but a little bit about what happened with Fusion there. I mean, they had a 2-game deficit yesterday they were able to come back from. They had, you could tell they were a little crestfallen in there. They had a lot of coaching staff kind of talking to them coming in and out. And they really were able to recover pretty masterfully. So if there's really a time to do it, now is the time. Yeah, and a big thing about Fusion and Curse Academy is they both have really large support staffs. Like the Curse Academy roster actually has all of the Curse support staff, the main, and like LOL Pro and their own Curse Academy staff helping them out. So they have so many minds back there. And I've talked to like Will, iVillain, stuff like that. Very, very intelligent people and very, very analytical. So I think they could break that game down very quickly and tell them how to adapt. And like what to do for Fusion. And the interview especially, too. Yeah. It seemed like they had it on lock right away. They knew exactly, like, even though they won, of course, they had exactly, here's what got wrong, here's what we're doing. But take a look over at the Fusion side. See Magic in the booth there. He's one of the coaches. He's been a big part in this success story so far. That is Team Fusion. And even though they don't look super happy about that result, they've still got a ways to go. Yeah, the fact that they were able to put up a really good fight against Curse Academy for so long is really big, considering what Curse Academy had going for them yesterday against Coast, which seemed like a really, really good team on paper, and in the past had executed numerous times. So the fact that Curse Academy is now the team to beat Fusion, they have a little bit of collecting to do for themselves, but they don't have a lot of beating of themselves up to do either. Yeah, I think so far they can be pretty proud of the performance. They were able to really turn around that dragon control issue they had in the last set. Granted, it was against a very different team, one that didn't really focus on that early dragon so much, but they were able to take very good objectives early on and really understand when they had an opening to grab that stuff. They didn't just have to fight their way to victory, so you can see them already adapting as a team in this tournament. Yeah, like you said. But speaking of adaptations, though, Curse Academy saw the footage from yesterday of the Final 5 set in Fusion, where they ended up invading every time they won, lane swapping every time they won. And they did that and saw it coming. There was almost a first blood, but they got the flash from Mach-Noon very early on, or Back-Noon very early on. And then they continued to just keep the pressure on. They gave up dragons still to Fusion, but they were able to get things for it and then ultimately had the right team fight strategy. It wasn't just a brawl where it's like, everybody go in and pile your ultimates. It's like, you pick him, you zone these two people and come in from the side. Like, very, very good execution from a team standpoint. And they've had a very particular set of champions that they've utilized for these kinds of things too. Nintendo, that guy right in the middle there, he's been doing nothing but Jarvan for the most part. 5 games in a row now on that champion. And as they mentioned in the interview, maybe he'll start rethinking this. And here's the thing is, he's been picking Jarvan's. They've been banning Saint's champion pool. Saint still has the Karthus to fall back on, and we saw it was pretty damn effective when he got to play it the way he wanted to and just farm up early and then get the level 6 and have First Blood fall into his hands. 4-1, got himself rolling. Fell off a little bit later, but then he came back into the game with positioning and strategy. So a big thing here is the sides have swapped. Bans might have to change a little bit because of the side swap, but the thing is Fusion was still banning those champions from red side. So now they're blue side, so they don't have to worry about things like Gnar. They can first pick it if it's up, and I really want to see the differences here that Curse Academy throw into the pool. Like if they just say, we're going to leave all these things up top, or we're going to leave all these junglers open, things like that, and see how they adapt to these things that are thrown at them. Yeah, and it feels like they really threw a lot of bans at Saint. As you mentioned, it didn't really seem to work too much because this is a guy that's really difficult for you to ban out and really make anything happen there. And it telegraphs what you're afraid of, what you want to not have to deal with. And now Curse Academy have that knowledge. They can work with it going into one more game. So we'll see if they can make it happen, of course. We'll see how this next game does pan out. 1-0 up for Curse Academy. Yeah, I do want to keep my eye on the bottom lane of Fusion because Nian Tanso was always set up in champion select, like I talked about. Ban, Rule 18, prototypes, top champions, get yourself on something comfortable, lane swap it, go even. Those are the games that you win. Nian Tanso fell to Cop, who was 6-1 and 12 that game. Had a really, really good performance in terms of consistency and being what his team needed him to be. He had a really good front line in order to pull that off. He was able to be allowed to farm for a long time, but then Nian Tanso, playing the Lucian, his positioning wasn't as good as Cop's in terms of just comparing the two, and he was much more vulnerable. There was more of a dive composition too for Curse Academy. Like this Karthus is just going to run straight at you. You're going to have this Zed that's going to come straight at you too, as well as the Lissandra. So all these things that come at you from different angles. Yep. And then, of course,
you have to play it
support
perfectly.
role. Support role, too. I mean, there's a little bit of a disparity there. I mean, we talked about Glebe. He's definitely a very solid player. His positioning was also a little bit off, shaky at some times, and he did kind of walk into a couple of those Bunny Fufu hooks. But Bunny, that guy's got a homing missile attached to that thing. He just does not miss it at all. It was incredible the way he was able to set up those picks, where his positioning was. Every single time he was able to get Cop out of what looked like a for sure bad situation. And the synergy between them, they got to be reading each other's minds, man. There was a flash into Lantern, and it was one fluid movement. It was incredible.
Yeah, and you got to touch on that laning phase of the two supports, where Glebe was just eating hook after hook after hook and not setting up his AD carry for success. And it was something that you really, really desire, especially when Bunny is landing all of these great hooks, timing the black shield, and then getting another one in between the cooldown, landing it consistently. But the fact that Glebe wasn't dodging them, wasn't standing in the minion wave, was instead you shouldn't be standing away from the minion wave when your Dark Binding is on cooldown. You should be standing in the minion wave, right?
Yeah, and the black shield too. I think he was relying on it a little bit too much.
When it's off cooldown, you go ahead and you stand outside the wave, and then you throw it, and then you can walk back to the wave. Don't put yourself at risk from getting hooked.
Well, we'll see if they can do that again, but we got to take a quick cooling off period while we get ready to go into that next game. So guys, don't go anywhere. You're of course watching the North American LCS Expansion Tournament right here on ESL TV.
Oh, I was.
Welcome back, everybody, to the North American LCS Expansion Tournament. We've just taken a brief break, but we are currently at a 1-0 result in this series, Curse Academy versus Team Fusion. Irene, it's a tense moment for both teams.
You hear that? Those two guys in the audience are really excited.
Well, dude, they're making enough noise for a whole crowd.
Oh, man. The whole crowd should be making noise.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about. We got quite a lot more on top of that one, and it looks like we're going to get ready to get into this game. It's happening right now. Picks and bans. Fusion this time, they'll be on the blue side, and they've had quite a lot of time to think about what they want to do, optimizing their strategies going forward.
Yeah, and the fact that, oh, boom, the Karthus ban.
Yeah, that I don't think that took too much thought.
Man, Saint right there.
Putting the fear
on the
in
camp.
Fusion.
He's just like, oh, he's smiling at that one for a long time. But yeah, look at that. They're just banning standard things across the board here, but the Jarvan's still up. The Pantheon is still up.
Yeah, the Warwick ban, that makes a lot of sense too. The Maokai as well. They've been trying to take that one away from Hanser. Gnar, of course, having to be banned on the red side this time, and it's kind of been like another game of feel it out. Last time, they did that mostly in the early laning phase and tried to figure out where each other were going to try and strike and take an edge, and this time it's been in the champ select. So we'll see what that last ban is for Curse Academy as the time whittles down. Yeah,
and the fact that they're taking Maokai off the table too is Hanser's most played champion so far in this tournament, tied with Kassadin, because he played 3 in 3 of those. And the big thing about Maokai right now is he's probably the best top laner. He is the best top laner, I'll say that with confidence, that takes Righteous Glory. And Righteous Glory is basically, hey, do you like Talisman of Ascension? Do you like HP and mana? And do you like Randuin's? All in one item. It's your Rod of Ages, Talisman of Ascension, Randuin's Omen. It is a very, very powerful team fighty type of item to have. And Curse Academy, I've watched their team fights this last game, and the fact that they're able to kind of micromanage the team fight within each other and zone certain people out and then focus down others is really, really good.
Yeah, something Fusion's going to have to watch for now. They did ban pretty heavily against Maknoon, but he's going to be able to lock in the Kassadin all the same. Of course, it could be a who he picked, but it's a flex. It doesn't reveal too much. And on the other side, instantaneous Zed and Porky lock in here, and that should be a pretty big telegraph for Fusion.
Yeah, Huhi, one of his best games was on casting, going 7-1 and 8 previously, but also at the same time, Maknoon can play. It's not really too much in his wheelhouse in terms of what he likes to play, but he can play it. And here's the thing too, is that you don't have to prioritize junglers or like take them away immediately, because there's still 2 available, like the Jarvan and the Pantheon. Saint will most likely fall back on the Pantheon at this point, and I think that's really smart of them.
Yeah, now Nintendo's going Jarvan again. He really has stuck this one out. This is 6 games in a row on that champion.
And here's the thing too, is Saint's very smart. He's probably sitting there thinking, you know, they left me the Pantheon. Why would they leave me the Pantheon? Like, they banned the Karthus over the Pantheon, and they didn't want the Maokai either. They could have banned the Pantheon instead of the Maokai. So he's either going, you know, well, they left me with something. I don't know why they gave 2 bans at other junglers. It's kind of a waste and good for us. Or he's thinking they might have a strategy for this.
Yeah, he's going to take it anyways. They're thinking about it. Yep, there we go. Locks it in.
Because there's really nothing else
at this point, yeah, you might as well. You know what the lanes are starting to look like. I think the Hanser, Lissandra lock in. Also, possible it's for Keen too.
This is pretty much the same composition.
I mean, they could switch it around, but I think Hanser's probably going to play Lissandra there. It's almost exactly the same, switching out the jungler.
Yeah, this is pretty much exactly the same composition from Curse Academy, except the fact that they have Pantheon instead of Karthus.
Yeah, and this actually helps them a little bit for the early game. They're able to start to contest those objectives. They gave up a lot of dragons last time around, and this time on the board it's going to be a little bit harder for Fusion to answer the back, especially pre-6, considering what Kassadin really is able to do before then is limited.
Yeah, and you know, Kassadin into Lissandra isn't like a horrible matchup for Lissandra or Kassadin. They kind of just sit around, but Lissandra seems to be a little more effective in the mid game, and then Kassadin is more item dependent. So if you do lane swap on it, it's a little rough time. So 4 seconds left on this lock-in for them, and yep.
Blanca, that would make a lot of sense.
Yep, makes sense. You know, the Syndra is something that it didn't work out too well, and he swaps to the LeBlanc. He wants that mobility. He's going to be up against a Zed at this point. So he can drag him back with Distortion. He can get away with Distortion. Very, very mobile champion. And the fact that, you know, LeBlanc has pretty much gotten a boost from like other secondary things, with the fact that Morelos has more AP, and also the fact that base stats are lowered from 6 through 9. He's got good spikes on him.
Yeah, and Glebe on Janna as well. He's only played it once this tournament, but he did have a significantly better rate of staying alive, the best way I can put it there, than on any champion but Soraka. So on Nami, on that Morgana, he definitely aided a little bit more. So Janna's a much safer pick in general. There's also a lot you can do with that to try and anti-siege a little bit. And on the other hand, they're going to give Bunny Fufu his signature Thresh again. So you've got to think that they just giving so many things over that are strong weapons for Curse Academy, they just don't really care too much that they're giving this away.
But this is exactly the same composition, like you said.
Exactly.
Like, this is exactly the same composition, except that Karthus was banned instead of Pantheon. They just swapped the two. So Curse Academy, no changes came out here for them in pick and ban, except for that. It was just one adaptation by Fusion, and then they swapped it.
Hey, man, you don't mess with success. They won a game one. They can keep going. On the other side, Fusion, they are mixing it up a little bit.
If you're Fusion, you should mess with success. He's like, they beat us. We got to throw a wrench in their plan. We got to change something up. Or they've had their support staff tell them, you just need to adjust. Just let them play the same thing and then play it differently. But the fact that they couldn't deal with the Lissandra can now stop the LeBlanc even more effectively. A buff that happened to Lissandra in 4.13 was that when you use your ultimate, you immediately stop the person, even if they're in a move block. If they're in a Thresh Lantern mid-transit, you stop them immediately. They do not complete the entire thing. So with LeBlanc's Distortion, you stop her mid-W. She doesn't even make it to her destination.
Yeah, if they can land those good timing-wise, they should be able to cut off some of those incredible Bunny Fufu saves that were accomplished last time. Although Kopp, again, he's been proving to be pretty adept at keeping himself alive as well, using that Valkyrie in a number of defensive manners. And his individual performance was pretty solid across the board. You really can't fault any part of Curse Academy, except for where they were taking objectives. And if Saint's more focused on that with this Pantheon, this is patch 4.20, the time of the 3-minute solo dragon. We'll see if that comes into play going forward. But Saint concentrating on this game, all serious mode now.
Yeah, it's kind of gimmicky when you take that. I feel like in competitive play, people are just going to put a ward there. They'll have their bottom lane around that area. It's much more easy to be attentive towards it and to at least just think, okay, it's possible that he could do it around this time. Let's just throw somebody around there. You know, the Glebe Glob will like run up there and like throw something. Because if anybody shows up, it's pretty much a dead Pantheon. Because all you have to do is auto attack him so he doesn't have a shield. And then he's pretty much done for.
Yeah, it's quite a risk. And Curse Academy, they've really not been taking too many unnecessary risks. A lot of safe fights for them, and it's worked out so well. Game number one. Here we are, game number two. Fusion sending 3 members up towards this riverside. MacNoon leading the charge. St. Vicious, though, he's guarding.
Yeah, they're going to have to just adapt their invasion strategy here from Fusion, because Curse Academy read them like a book.
This time, they're trying to threaten just a little bit. Keen checking a little far forward, finds Huhi, but they're really not able to do much but poke each other to start this one off. Again, Saint getting the ward out. He's a sentinel on patrol right there. They're not really going to pass that without running into him, but all 4 members hanging in this Prussian. Fusion, they're going to try for this lane swap again. They have done this consistently for several games now, not just against Curse Academy, but of course against Final 5, which did net them that end of the series.
Yeah, and here's the thing is, what's the answer that Curse Academy are going to come up with? Are they going to send their bottom lane to the top lane and answer the lane swap? I think it's in their favor. They've been winning these lane swaps, and Niantanso hasn't actually been that scary alongside Glebe Glarbu.
Yeah, the 2v2s seem to have worked out definitely in Curse Academy's favor, and this is the exact same lane to deal with. The end looked all right on that Lucian. He was able to dodge out a lot of the skill shots, but all the same, Glebe, he was taking a lot of hooks to the face. Janet, a little movement speed boost, but there's no defense against that if you do get hooked in. We are going to see reverse jungle invades.
Yeah, and Bunny Fufu helping here with St. Vicious, but also Kopp not swapping up to the top lane. He started his back and then he canceled it. So it looked like it was part of the call that they were going to make, but then they decided to retcon that and just go with something else.
Yeah, everything else is going to be a little bit more normal here. So they do send Bunny and Kopp down to the bottom side, so they won't take this. This might be Fusion's opportunity here in this early game, but Nian's going to pull the lane freeze right now, and we'll just see the jungle buddy system that tends to happen as a result.
So now we'll see if the theory holds correct that Fusion does better in lane swaps, because all the games that they've won so far in this top 4 have been off of lane swaps and getting Nian to at least go even, because he's the shot caller of the team. When you have your laner getting hooked all the time, when you're against a fed AD carry, and bam.
We do have an early dragon being started, so...
This is the beauty of it,
but
too.
Yeah, there's really no risk here because they're in the middle of jungling, and Saint's just like, wait a minute, guys. No one's going to respond to this.
Well, here's the thing, too, is that they lane swapped on you. So their support is top. He can't even show up here and auto-attack you to get the shield off or to place a ward. Nobody has any idea this is going on Fusion's side.
Yeah, they haven't even sent anyone down to the bottom, and they're not really paying attention as well. So because of that, yeah, this dragon, it may take a while to go down, but there really isn't a reaction possible, and Curse Academy coming up with that one quite nicely.
It's just so confused.
Yeah, it doesn't know who to attack. It's angry. It's angry at Bunny now.
Nope.
Nope. Nope.
Oh.
And take it down.
And Nintendo's gonna...
Hey, Saint didn't even have to smite it.
Nope, he didn't.
Can't miss a smite if you don't take it.
Well, he still got the dragon.
Worth.
Didn't have to smite.
Saves that one. Actually, and that's great because you can also use it on his camps going forward. Now he's getting straight to his own blue.
Yep.
Now this is really brilliant start in the jungle right now for Curse Academy.
Because he's out of mana at this point. So he's going to be able to use it to get a little extra burst, and then he's going to just get the blue buff for himself.
Yeah, it's a little bit rough for Hanser since he's been committing really hard to this double jungle. Now you see the split off from Maknoon is sending himself down to the bottom. Actually, he's thinking twice about that one, roving up a little bit. Now they know that the red's gone. Had to figure that one anyways, but he'll be coming back. Looks like he might make his way all the way to the top.
We'll have to see what ends up happening.
Where are you going, Maknoon?
Yeah. I think he's still trying to just double jungle here.
Oh, maybe he was sweeping out the camps and making sure that nothing else was taken. Now he's actually going to go on a scouting mission here, so he's taking a lot of time. This actually looked bad for Hanser, but it's looking a little worse for Maknoon in the experience department. Yeah, they're going to take a long way up there, so Hanser might be in a little bit of trouble. There's a trap closing around him, and he doesn't know it just yet. Nintendude gonna walk out here. Here's Glebe joining the party. They've revealed themselves, but around the backside, yeah, he doesn't know this, so he thinks he's safe for now. He's only level 2. Nien is 4. Nintendude is 3. This could be very dangerous, but Saint Vicious is coming to the rescue. Will he get there in time?
But they'll be able to see that Saint is in the vicinity.
Oh, Claw. Goodbye.
Yeah, they're just going to abandon it. And now that Saint's up here, they know that there won't be a fast push in another lane. And now Bunny is here as well. If they skirmish in the middle of the lane, which Fusion could force, it's going to be horrible for Curse Academy because it's the 3-on-4 and the level advantage is in Fusion's favor. Curse Academy would have to like run past them and flash towards the turret to even make this fight close to even.
Yeah, it'd be really, really dangerous. So they are still poking away at this one, and a nice proxy farm effort from this Fusion side. Meanwhile, on the bottom, Cop is just perfectly happy to soak up as much experience as he can. He hasn't had to share it with anyone else, and they've kept even CS, but this first tower will go over to Fusion.
Yeah, and the fact that Fusion have been able to zone them off, they effectively got nothing on 3 members for about a minute, maybe a minute and a half there. That was probably about a minute, but they got nothing, effectively nothing. And the big thing, though, is that that's not as bad because they had just gotten Dragon before.
Yeah, so Curse Academy get a little bit more there. They have those battle stats to deal with, and speaking of those, coming in handy now. Oh my goodness, Bunny nearly hits him, and he wasn't fooled for a moment, so that tower will fall down. It's going to be a little extra gold in the pockets of Fusion. Huhi staying safe for now. No first blood. 6 minutes into this one. It has been a very conservative opening in that regard.
Hook would have landed if LeBlanc had a cape.
Ah.
That's why
capes are a hazard, man.
That's why you don't wear capes.
Maknoon now joining Nintendude and Glebe Glarbro in this bottom, so Cop finds he's got a little bit of company knocked up by the Howling Gale as Bunny comes back. That guy!
Saint's right there.
He's not even got boots, and Bunny's just so quick here. Is they're going to get the gank and teleport is also coming. Saint Vicious jumping onto Maknoon. They want to make this happen. Maknoon's still level 2. Here comes Keen. They're going to be able to lock this one up. Deathmark is on. That's first blood. Going over to Hanser. They're going to get more. Nintendude is down. Cop went forward just to make sure he could take the kill, and they get 2 for none just like that.
Flashes forward for the final attack, even though the Deathmark was going to secure it for him. Double kill secured.
Able to make that one happen. So yeah, Cop and Hanser both pick up one there. Glebe trying to shield out the turret, and a good effort, a good counter gank, really. I want to call it a counter gank. It's really not so much because Nintendude kind of was there just hanging out for a while, but a counter threat.
Yeah, a lot of these members hadn't backed either to purchase items, so everybody's just sitting on like Doran's Blade when they could afford a BF sword. So the back timers were like right around the breakpoints for them.
Yeah, again, Fusion, they make these small mistakes. And Curse Academy, they have the foresight, they have the knowledge to be able to capitalize on that. Dragon's going to come up in about 2 minutes. And I can't believe I'm saying that at a 7.5 minute game. We did see that very early one for Curse Academy that wasn't really capable of being punished. But Fusion still looking to try and grab some more turret gold here. Not going to be able to push it up just yet. Nien is perfectly happy to get the solo farm while Cop's hanging out as well.
Cop versus Nien. Back to just being in the one-on-one here. Nien is in a good spot. He got through that pretty early game portion where people didn't have ultimates, which he was struggling with last time in the 2-on-2. So now that they've swapped it back and Nien's gotten his farm lane, gotten his BF sword, how is he going to fare? Because Fusion has won every game that they've lane swapped.
Speaking of farm,
done too well in the 2-on-2.
Hanser is a pretty solid amount ahead of Maknoon, who just really hasn't been in lane hardly at all. Now Keen's going to get locked up by the chains, but Huhi is not interested in taking any further fight to him there. CS is a little bit more even in the mid lane this time. Whoa, hello.
Oh, he went back.
Who's going to take this one? I don't know. The Ignite is on. Huhi's got the chains. Keen goes down, but they might trade back and forth. They do. and a pair of ignites burned around the way in the mid lane.
Yeah, it looked like Hui actually went back to the wrong distortion for a second there and then had to pop back to the other one. He was still in range of Zed at that time.
No solo kills. Whoa! Bunny Fufu catching Gloob Glarbo again. Nien will pop the heal for a little bit of the boost there. And they're trying to just duel each other out. The phosphorus bomb going to connect on both him and Gloob Glarbo. Bunny Fufu now zoning the rest of the team out. Nien is very low, but so is Cop.
That's the thing, though. Nien got his farm lane, so now he's actually in a really good spot. I feel like the early game needs a lot of work from this bottom lane, especially against this veteran lane that actually did play in LCS together.
My goodness, they're going for it again. They're actually going to jump onto Bunny, but there's a calling out Nien. He could be in trouble right now. Bunny Fufu going to take down Nien. They might follow Glebe. Oh, he gets the kill. The supports pick up the AD carries, and a double kill for Bunny Fufu. Nintendude in hot pursuit. Bunny, he is going to help chase him down with the help of Hanser. They get the catch on. No follow-up, but that was just a nice play by Bunny all around.
Oh yeah, the hook, the lantern, and look at this, the all-in on Maknoon.
Yep, Keen's gonna find it there. What was he doing there? Maknoon's wondering, he's popped.
Half the level of Keen. He's level 4.
Yeah, it's a rough time right now for Maknoon's Kassadin, and now this is going to prompt Curse Academy to start this dragon. They didn't even need to go back, and it's only Hui. Well, Nintendude's here as well. St. Vicious, this could be a smite fight if it turns into it. Nintendude threatening right now. The teleport's coming in. They're going to catch St. Vicious. Oh, I mean, excuse me, it's Nintendude that goes down. Saint is perfectly fine here, and they're just going to be able to take this one, blocking all the shots. Maknoon trying to threaten, but he's still so low, still only level 4, you're right.
Yep. What's that casting going to do? It's just going to run at you and throw some spears.
Certainly can't rift walk.
Yeah. And that's a big thing, too, is when I was talking about Kassadin in Champion Select, I was like, I don't know if that's Maknoon's wheelhouse champion, because he really likes things that are lane bullies, aggressive early, things that can just bully the opponent, and that's not Kassadin, especially when you lane swap on it.
And when you spend so much time trying to roam around and get vision, it's almost like he's been relegated in a supporting role, and that just, you're right, it hasn't been playing to the strengths of a player like Maknoon, who loves that top carry, who loves the lane bully, and Hanser, not just him, but also Keen. They've been able to walk all over him. If they can keep this up, and again, this is an item-dependent champion. It could be a lot of trouble here for Fusion.
It's very big. The fact that it's item-dependent carry means it's slowed down in the lane swap from levels, and it's slowed down because he's not getting as much income, especially for the early parts of the game. And if he's just going to get dove like that and they lane swap Keen to the top, it's just going to happen over and over again. He finally hit 5, not even close to 6 at this point, whereas everybody else is hitting 6. Everybody else is hitting these. He's the same level as the support.
It's never a position that you want to be in. Speaking of positions they don't want to be in Fusion, they've got to start moving forward this game. They find themselves down nearly 3,000 gold. 2,500 would be a little bit more accurate. 1-1 in towers. And yeah, 2 dragons they haven't been able to answer for. They did try, but Nintendude, he was a little overconfident on that Jarvan, and they just were able to lock him up and take him down.
This bottom lane is still developing. They're still even, but there's more in the hands of Curse Academy in terms of what support has, but just going back and forth. Nien, he needs a good lane to get going.
And they're focusing a lot on this bot side. Curse Academy is. You see St. Vicious doing Gromp right now, or in the vicinity of it. They could come in for a lane game pretty soon. Nien has been poked out pretty hard by those big rockets, and Cop is dangerously close to that Trinity Force power spike.
I love how they lane swapped Hanser to mid, Keen to top, because Keen can deal with Kassadin very easily. Hanser can't, but look at this. They both have flashes, though.
He's going man drop. He's going to zone it out. And they're actually going to just dash into him. Nien says, that's fine. I can get back safely. Maybe I can. Maybe I can't. And yes, he's going to have to burn his flash for it, though.
Ooh, didn't get the auto off on Nien, but at the same time, I don't think he was low enough to actually get that execute damage.
He really tried pretty hard on that one. We'll see if St. Vicious makes the return there, but that was a pretty solid zoning man drop, and I'm surprised Nien walked into it. Now Hanser and Hui are going to duke it out here. The chains are on, but he's actually dashing away. There we go. Ice Prison. Hui returning as much damage as he's given, though. Hanser, going to spot it. Nien Tanso on the bottom. Bunny with those wards.
Figured he was backing right there. Good ward placement from Bunny.
Nintendude, Gloob Glarbo, they're moving around the side here too. And they're realizing that the bot lane does need a little bit of help. Again, the shot caller is in this bot lane. It is Nien Tanso for Fusion. And if he is having a rough time, you can only wonder what that really does to the way they make decisions for the team.
Yeah, it becomes a very rough game for them as a whole. And look at this Keen Hanser, the 2 members of this team that are doing very well for themselves over their lane opponents. The fact they're able to apply the pressure, I actually swapped them in my head because Keen has been laning against Maknoon.
Yep, here we go. Speaking of Maknoon, he's coming in. He's level 6 now, but Haunter's getting away. Keen, he's locked up, but he does trade his life for Nintendo's. They get something out of that. Haunter still burning. He's down. That is a double kill going over to Huhi, and he finds something there.
That's exactly what he needed to get back into this game. He's been 30 CS up. But the thing is that the pressure that those two guys can implement onto him, and the fact that Maknoon has been so far behind for so long, and now he finally hit 6. He gets some assists, 1 assist, which is going to help him in the experience department.
Yeah, he's definitely going to need it too. And now they're trying to take this tower down. It's still a little bit of a ways from going there. Saint Bunny not wanting to check too far into that one, and it's kind of reset in a really strange way now. Bit of a lead still for Curse Academy in the gold. Still 1-1 in towers, but everyone's interested in trying to catch up in laning and in farm. Maknoon in particular has been kind of uncontested here as Haunter starts to mosey his way back to meet him.
Yeah, on top of a ward there for Fusion. They back off. It looks like they're just going to do Krugs. Saint getting his red for himself, his man drop. Grand Skyfall once again back up. And you know he's going to look for some aggressiveness. We heard their coach talking about how they want a more aggressive jungler.
Saint's certainly been a little bit more there. So far, perfect game, 102. Can't complain too much, but he's been around the map, getting a little bit of help from Bunny Fufu. And that's another thing we didn't talk about Bunny so much last game, but he was able to execute. The fact that he throws, the lanterns not just for Cop, but that he's thrown them for Saint to get him into these fights. It's a little bit more necessary this time if his man drop is not available to use.
Yeah, just his lantern placement in general is all really good. Before he even had his man drop, he did a lane gank where he threw it backwards and then Saint took the lantern and then just W'd right off of it. Like, we've talked about Bunny a lot.
Keeps on making those plays, man.
Yeah.
Now, almost gets that hook there. Now, Cop is doing a pretty good job of trying to keep Nien off this farm, but still able to catch back up. It's difficult to keep Lucian too far down here as he's still able to make some bullying happen. They clear the Scuttle Crab down, and Tendude, Maknoon, and Huhi are all chasing down here, and they've done a pretty solid job of scaring Cop and Bunny for just a minute.
Yeah, it's the 5-man squad around this dragon. They got the Scuttle Crab. It'll be up while Dragon is up for the first about 30 seconds of it. And now they need to make a play. They need to get somebody off the field so that they can secure the dragon for themselves, because the death time would keep them out of it guaranteed.
Absolutely. So, Cop on that Trinity Force spike. You see on the other side, Nien's going for a little bit more gold generation with the Avarice Blade. Haunter is pushing in this top, and Maknoon hasn't responded to it just yet. He's trying to get back there, but the level differential, it's starting to close just a little bit, but he's still not completed the item. And this is rough. When you don't get a Rod of Ages by 16 minutes, you're in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, and like we said, item dependent. And the fact that it's not by 16 minutes means that it won't be fully stacked until at least 27, 26.
These games have gone on a little longer, though, on patch 422,
yes.
So it may not be as much of a burn as it would have been in previous editions of Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the fact that they might get this next dragon, but they have vision of it. Maknoon in the top lane, still trying to farm. He desperately needs that farm. He couldn't be like, I'm just going to go to dragon and we're going to get it. He needs to be able to get this farm. He could have TP'd up there, but he wants to TP to the fight because they might pick somebody off beforehand.
Oof, Keen. Just before he
There's
levels up, they're going to send in the Grand Skyfall, but looks like Huhi is already out of that one. Maknoon now dueling with Haunter, but the level differential, it's actually just about closed. There we go, Haunter leveling up, and meanwhile in the bottom, Leave Glarbu, he hits the Monsoon on, but he gets hooked up in. Cop going for him. They're focusing. Now they have to change targets because Glebe burning his flash to get out of that one. Nien now. Cop is in trouble. I don't know if Bunny can escape from this one. He's just trying his darndest to... Oh!
He got the hook.
He did get the hook, but he didn't last much longer, and St. Vicious now in hot pursuit. Going to turn his attention to Nintendo X, trying to escape, and they might have closed the trap here. King going in. Nintendo getting popped, but so does Saint. Here it goes. Maknoon coming up big as well. 1-for-3 trade. This could be Dragon for Fusion.
But both junglers are off the field right now, and nobody's really around that can just tank the dragon. They'd have to just juggle it back and forth. And meanwhile, Haunter's been pushing this top lane, getting even more farm for himself over Maknoon.
Yeah, it was a pretty big fight for Fusion, but Curse Academy, they're ahead enough. They have that luxury to be able to push in here. Maknoon now making his move there. Nien, he can't free push on this one because Cop's stuck around. They're both low. Glebe had to move away. He's actually still sticking around. There we go. They're start to back now, but it's a pretty tense moment. Again, Fusion, you're right, can't capitalize.
Look at that. They didn't get anything for it, right? Kills are, just a little extra gold. But if you don't get anything for them, you just get it back. You have to hit item spikes and then make it worth it, or else you're giving up this dragon again. The bot lane just backed a Fusion. That's
exactly what they're doing, and the Scuttle Crab was down too. They're not even going to have sight of this. They're pinging it out, though. They have to know it's going down. St. Vicious able to tank it up just fine, and this dragon, again, 3 dragons now, uncontested. Curse Academy picks that one up.
Crab is back.
And a little late.
Yep. And the fact that they're juggling it back and forth every time Bunny Fufu's making it so that Saint is taking no damage is really big, because he just comes off of it. He's like, oh, I didn't even have to use my shield. I picked Pantheon, but I could have done this with any jungler.
Yeah, Saint's definitely got that experience to fall back on, knows what champions he can make work, and a really, really good performance so far on this Pantheon. They've grabbed 3 dragons now. Curse Academy just playing it by the books. And Fusion, they're trying to answer back. Mandrop, though, coming in. They're going to land on Glaive in the end, but there's nobody there for backup. This is so dangerous. Bunny finally joining it. Saint's just going to flash out. They're going to try the switcheroo. Can they find him, though? Hanser here around the side. He teleported in. They've caught Glaive Glarbro. They've caught Nian Tanso, and they closed the trap around him. A double kill going over to Cop.
Jumped in, cleared the minion wave, baited them into staying a little longer, and then they collapsed around it. And now Nintendo coming towards this middle lane with Huhi, but everybody's just wrapping around. It's going to be just another party here. Bunny Fufu makes his appearance.
This tower still standing for the time being. Huhi and Nintendo trying to answer something here. Maknoon's starting to ramp up just a little bit, but he's so far behind in CS to Hanser, it's just so difficult for him to really make any sort of return play.
Yeah, Maknoon finally got his Rod of Ages, so that's going to start ramping up for him. It is a little later than you would want it to be. He's at about 5 CS every minute.
Ooh. I think they're going to land every time. But this time, Hui's able to get out of this one. Now, Maknoon is here in the middle with Hui trying to take this tower down, but again, they don't really have a huge minion wave behind him, so I have to get away from this one. Saint not going to take the lantern. Nah, man. Those Raptors.
At the same time, though, Cop off on the side, trying to just... Like, Cop sits in places for a long time.
Oh, here comes Kane. He's jumping on Hui. Oh, he's just trying to dodge back now. Hui's got nowhere to go, or does he? He's going to get his Mimic on. That's popped. And turning around, they find Glaive Glarbro with the hook. They're going to Monsoon out of it as Glaive Glarbro. I don't know if they can get him away from that one, though. He's going down. That burst from Curse Academy is real, but Hui is deep in enemy territory, and he's having to run his way out of here. Bunny Fufu still with the speed boost. He does. They're still trying to close this on him, and he's able to distort away.
Oh, found Maknoon.
Yep, you did. Stunned him up, too.
Whereas Maknoon found him. Yep.
Oh, that's pain.
Nobody saw that.
It's all good. Maknoon now chasing down St. Vicious. Bunny's there, the lantern. They're going to keep him alive, and that's actually 3 members here. 4 members starting to chase. There's no tower for them. The box is down. Bunny's trying to keep him alive there, but the Cataclysm is on. Nintendo, he's jumping out of that one. St. Vicious is going down. They trade jungle for jungle, but Cop is also down. Bunny Fufu locked up. That's going to go over. A double kill for Nian Tanso, and Fusion collapses.
I believe you said it one time, greed leads to feed.
Every once in a while, that's true.
They just kept going for it.
Monster's able to get something off of this, but this is what's so great about what Curse Academy does. They can lose fights, they can still get stuff back, and this is what they're doing now. Taking a turret in the middle, Hanser still pushing on it. Minion wave going to evaporate, so he'll move on out of there, get a little vision as well, and Keen's cleaning up top.
Yeah, you kind of have to cut your losses, but you have to be a team that knows when to do that and also how to do that effectively, because if Hanser gets caught out here, then it's not worth it. If Keen were to like get caught out as well, it's definitely something that is more detrimental, and you have to know when to back off. So it's the more reserved players. So you have to have like half a team that's very greedy, and then the other half is like, oh, okay, they all died, let's just get something.
Yeah, Fusion still continues to be pretty bloodthirsty across the board. They have 10 kills in their pockets here, looking for setting up a little bit more. Bunny Fufu, he's caught with the chains right now, realizes it only too late, and Nien's going to clean him up pretty quickly there.
Yeah, Nien got off to a good start, went even with Cop in lane. There were a couple kills that fell over. Double kill went over to Bunny Fufu early on, so it wasn't the gold allocated onto Cop, it was allocated onto him. So Nian Tanso is now 5-2-1, and is hitting these power spikes with the Lucian, the IE. He's getting himself towards that static shiv. Really, really potent, and at the same time, Dragon in almost 2 minutes, and they're starting to clear these pink wards and get control of it for Fusion finally.
Yeah, so Fusion, this is what they've been needing to do a good chunk of the game, grabbing a little bit back. And even if they haven't been able to capitalize on every single one of their kills, they are doing their best to make it count. Gold has started to close even right now. Off of his split pushing mission. Again, Curse Academy just trying to take anything they can where they can, but the tower stand even at 3-2-3, and it's 22.5 minutes into this game. It's been a much more controlled one than we saw last time, though.
He said 3-2-3, and I was like, oh, 323?
Exactly. That's a lot of kills.
Yeah. A lot of turret kills. Oh, those poor turrets. At the same time, though, look at this. They're just invading the jungle. Fusion are getting control of this game. Saint doesn't have a flash.
Yeah, he can't get out of here, and he's actually not going to even get the Gromp. It looks like it went over to Huhi, though. The Cataclysm's on. Saint and Keen, though, they're taking the fight right to him. Here comes Cop, and who baited who? Saint Vicious making it out alive. Nintendo and Huhi all cleaned up.
Man, Nintendo just jumped in there. He's like, Mosh! And then everybody got destroyed by Keen and Saint's damage on top of that. That was kind of an overextension there, but that's the kind of thing where you're like, he doesn't have flash. It looks like it's not going to go in Saint's favor, and the fact he's able to block attacks with Pantheon kept him alive.
Jump a guy in the jungle, you got to make sure that his friends aren't around.
Oh yeah, and the big good reaction there by Keen. Like, they didn't have vision of that area, and they kind of just saw it happen, and it had to be a reaction that he was in the area, he saw it happen, and he had to help Saint.
Yeah, and this has been Fusion's MO, though. They take the opportunistic fights, not so much the opportunistic objectives. That has been changing a little bit, but you see sometimes that does blind them a little bit. And we were just talking about Greed on Curse Academy side. Well, it cuts both ways.
Yeah, there it's purely reaction from Curse Academy, too, because they didn't see it coming. But here's the thing. They might get their 4th dragon right now.
Yeah, and again, 4th uncontested dragon. Well, Nintendo's going to be moving in. Though. Yeah, this may be a smite fight if it does come down to it, but last time this happened, they were able to lock up Nintendo X. And Glebe is just making sure the vision is here. Everyone's going to join. This might be our first real 5v5 at the Dragon Pit.
I don't know. Macnoon's not there just yet, and Keen's going to go hunt him down.
Now, okay, 4v4. We'll call it.
4v4, and then the 1v1 off on the side.
1v1 is real. Dragon's
aggro.
active.
He wants none of that.
Yeah, Dragon actually just leveled up, too, so they get it out there. Big one's going to land and hit Huhi in the side of the head. Macnoon moving around the side. Coling is out to try and zone him off here, but they have the Scuttle Crab boost. Oh,
they're going to fight.
It's going to be Hanser going in. He gets knocked back, but they've got so much burst there. Saint Vicious with the man drop going to pick down Glebe Glarbu. They're going double kill now. They even find more in the pit. Bunny Fufu coming up with that one, or it's Cop that gets that credit.
Ooh.
And Fusion is just chased on off. They lose Saint and all that, but they get 4. They're going to get a dragon. They're perfectly fine.
And speaking of that, they get 4 kills, and this is their 4th dragon of the game. Macnoon, he can only push mid. That's all he has left to do. That he has his options. Really, really crisp team fight there from Curse Academy. It looked like they were starting the dragon. They weren't taking damage from it. They were just juggling back and forth, didn't get their health bars chunked, and then the man drop came out, and it was right on target. And Hanser's ultimate was beautiful. We're going to take another look at that, and you see he hits Nien Tanso. It actually hits Glebe too with the damage. The rocket comes across, hits both. Saint kills Glebe, gets on Nien, able to chunk him down, and then they take out Huhi, and it's just this big cluster of people. Look at the health bar still available on these 4 members.
You know, I think Saint could have even gotten out of that when he was burning so low, but I mean, they still had a heal available. They could have spent that one. Again, Curse Academy, you know, they played that out incredibly well. It could have been a little bit better. And they also adapted after the fact. Macnoon went to go push mid, and then they sent Keen after him. And he couldn't take anything.
Yeah, and they had options too on Curse Academy's side. A big thing with like what Bunny has been stepping up and doing lately is when you are doing an objective, smite fight is 50-50, right? If the support stops the other guy from getting into the pit, 100%. So Bunny would be on zone duty at that point, trying to keep Nien Tanso from at least getting in on Jarvan. You can stop it with a flay, you can stop the distance closing, because Nintendo was right off on the left side, but he wasn't guarding his back line at that point, so they were able to dive in.
Yep, now Macnoon being jumped on by Keen here. The death mark is on. Does he have enough damage? It looks like not quite, but he's going to ignite him, and that will finish him off after a brief delay there, and he comes right back on in. It really has been hard times here for Fusion in the 1v1 department, especially talking about Nintendo. Oh, okay, they find Hanser, though. He's going to get his Zanyas on. So is Huhi. Hanser, though, will fall down. The Monsoon keeping him alive. And here we go. It is a 1-for-none so far, but it might end the other way. Nintendo in the pit. They just don't have any way to close the gap. Here comes Huhi. Go around the side. He's able to pick off Cop. Finally, a 2-for-2 trade ends up being the result, but Saint Vicious is still on the chase. He's got the speed shrine available to him, and he might be able to chase down the end here, but Huhi's going to zone him off.
Yeah, the fact that the Cataclysm came down, Cop just pushed his back up against the back wall, and he just kind of just pumped damage into them, and they couldn't reach him. Lucian had to get right up in his face, but also there's another member there too right in front of him.
Yeah, meanwhile, Keen's going to be able to take down this tower. Really great split pushing on that Zed this game. Macnoon trying to catch him, but won't be able to. And to talk about Nintendo on the other side of the jungle here this game, he's had a lot of trouble. More often than not, he jumps into the pit, and he dies in it himself.
Yeah. And another thing too is like Nintendo, like you said, 0, 8, and 9. He's almost looking at a 1 KDA here.
So close.
It's the dream. 1 KDA to dream.
Now, on the other side, Saint's really been making these things happen. The initiations to just try and either scatter zone or kill everyone on Fusion side have worked so well with the Grand Skyfalls. And Curse Academy, they just key off of it so incredibly well that they just are looking like a well-oiled machine in this later stages of the mid-game. Cop in the middle, looking tasty. He's got to know that there's friends there, though. This Baron is starting to look like the objective to get after 4 dragons already taken to none for Curse Academy.
And just another thing is that they have so much dive again on this composition we talked about last game. But
Speaking
look at
of
this.
dive, oh, they caught Nintendo again. The hook's not going to connect, but they don't really need it. He's going to try to flag and drag over, but he actually flashes instead. And then takes the flag.
There we go. But, so we talked about it last game where they have so much dive. Their dive potential actually increased when they subbed out the Karthus for Pantheon. Your backline is not safe against this Curse Academy lineup. And Niantanso is the person that they always want fed. They always want to get snowballing. And he was the person who ended up winning a lot of the final 5 games for them. Like, his stat lines were crazy, like 15-0-6, 14-3-8, 9-1-6. Like, he had a phenomenal game all throughout that series. But these games, he's just kind of been stunted by these dive compositions. He gets ahead.
He has gotten a decent number of kills, and they haven't been necessarily feeding them to him. So this time, Nian's done a pretty solid job on his own to give him that credit. But you're right, Fusion just hasn't been able to string together as much as Curse Academy has. And
they lane swapped it too, so he had the best scenario for himself.
And it didn't work out in the long run so far, but they still have a chance to get back into this one now. Nian's going to find a couple of Raptors. That brush is perfectly fine with that. But Curse Academy are starting to control not only this bottom side jungle, but there's that ever-present threat of Keen, who has just gotten to an item threshold where he can pretty much 1v1 just about anyone on the map.
Yeah, that's it. And also the fact that he just hit his level 3 ultimate at level 16, he's able to do that very, very easily now, too.
Can't mess with the level 16 Keen. He's going to make his way over to MacNoon. Shadow
They
step,
do have
here we
Zhonya's,
go.
though.
Yeah, he does, but the Deathmark's on. He's going to use his Zhonya's, but Keen is still there, thinking he might be able to take this. There's a 2-level advantage, and MacNoon has been hurting from this one all game. He's backed away now, so Keen won't take him down on that one, but he'll have that ultimate back up in just a little bit. The blue buff helping with the cooldown reduction.
That's the thing, is there's so many top laners now that take Zhonya's Hourglass. You're like, Lissandra, Rumble gets it as well sometimes, Kassadin, all of them top laners. A lot of mid laners do it too.
Not too much front lines as much anyways, because once you do that, you become completely unavailable to really tank anything for your team for that couple of seconds.
You kind of become a weird aggro tank where the person has to swap off you, but if they swap off of you and use cooldowns on a different person, they don't have it for when you're no longer invulnerable. So it's like, if you're playing something like Ryze, you can I can just swap targets very quickly, low cooldowns. But if you're playing something like LeBlanc and you swap targets, it's really difficult to blow that person up right afterward. This would be the 5th dragon for Curse Academy.
To none for Fusion. They need to start contesting this. They've not really been able to take too many fights. Blue Trinket's down. They know it's happening. They have a ward in the back of the pit as well. They have to fight this, but it's already at half health. Here we go. Calling out Bunny. Gonna send out a hook. Face tanking the damage. He's okay with that one. This could be a smite fight. A versus real one. Here we go. Nintendo. He's gonna get it. They needed that one, but they might pay for it dearly. Here comes St. Vicious picking off Nintendo X. They're going for more. Glaive Glarbu's blown up with a big rocket. MacNoon around the side trying to find Keen, but he doesn't have the damage. Flashing away from this one, but Hanser is in hot pursuit. He's got the claw in just a couple seconds, and he's going to use it. You're not safe, MacNoon. Down he goes, 4 for none.
And they're going to look straight towards Niantanso right now.
Boy,
he's going for Keen.
That crit.
Oh!
Down he goes, but that may be a short-lived victory here. Niantanso on the run. He's just trying to buy some time for his team now. They could go for the Baron since nobody else is up, but they're just not in position to do it as Nian's leading them on a wild goose chase.
Niantanso. Can he do it?
The escape artist. He's not going to get the execute here, though.
Cop followed him, but...
No, they're going to be able to pick him off in just a second. But who's getting it? It's Cop.
So crazy.
I would say it's an ace, but it's not quite.
No, not quite. Hui's back up. It buys them time. Big play there is the smite steal from Nintendo, stopping them from getting 5 dragons. He flag and drags in. Saint had backed up a bit, and then they go for it, and it's actually the burst from Nintendo that helps get it down. Saint gets revenge on him, but then the team fight just peters off to the side. MacNoon at that point, trying to get away, and then gets picked up by Hanser.
Yeah, surprised he actually backed there. I guess he thought he was safe and Hanser wasn't chasing him, but he just delayed until he started recalling. So Possibly a bit of a mind game there. Curse Academy, though, it's funny how the results swapped a little bit, or rather the focus swapped a little bit. Curse Academy, they were going for the objective, ended up getting the kills. Fusion were going for the kills, ended up getting the objective.
So here's the thing, is when you're talking about like all of these objective controls that Curse Academy are just throwing out there, their dive composition. Think of the bans that keep coming out towards St. Vicious. He's gonna get something. If he has 4 junglers,
Might get something here.
If he has 4 junglers, possibly 5, but we'll see. I'll talk about that in a second.
They jump on Glebe, but he's going to get knocked away. Glebe sends out the Monsoon really quickly right now. They know that ultimate is down. They have the speed try. Nien Tanso pushing mid by himself, and Curse Academy are staggering back to try and make that happen. They're giving up their vision control on the Baron. The tower's already down. Cop coming in to try and make a cleanup happen, but Nien,
Red buff, but
2 guns his way back.
He's not going to continue.
Yeah, that was a really nice move by Fusion. Nien Tanso able to drag Curse Academy away from the Baron pit.
Look at that, 1 KDA for Nintendo now.
He's got it.
I want to talk about the junglers too. Like St. Vicious, they keep throwing bans at him, but he has at least 4 junglers, possibly 5. I don't know if he plays like the pocket fiddlesticks or something that he could throw on this patch. And if you keep throwing bans at that, you're not throwing bans at these other things that make Curse Academy swap their composition. You're not banning the Lysandra. You're not banning or taking the Corki early.
Or the Thresh.
They're prioritizing other things. Like this was a first pick Kassadin for Mac Noon, and it was completely countered.
Yeah, a really, really nice move by Curse Academy.
What's going on in the
pit? A little
pit?
bit weird. Here we go. They
Who's
don't
there?
know what's happening, but it's not being started. It's just a party with the Baron. Everybody's invited. Here we go.
There's
Here
the
we go. Jumping
invitation.
out of it. Oh boy. They're going to run on St. Vicious. He splits from the team. He's in the Cataclysm. Doesn't have the flash. Has to fight this one out. They have to jump with it, but they take down Saint. Teleport coming in for Hanser now. Machnoon's a little bit low, but he's going to rift walk away, and the hit and run works this time for Team Fusion.
They just sat there so patiently for so long. Their minion waves were pushing in, and they didn't really have to rush anything. If they were doing the Baron, they would have just had to walk away. But the fact that they set up a pick and it rewarded them with St. Vicious is really good.
Yeah, that was really nice, and they only had to spend the Cataclysm. They're actually going to start this one here. They know there's no Smite Steal, but they could just try to fight it out. Now, Curse Academy are picking this one. Yep, he's making his move in there. They're going to get the vision on. Cobb's got the damage. Maybe something can happen here. It's a little bit low. Oh, and it's going to be the Smite. That's Nintendo X picking up the Baron. A good play by them. They don't lose a member.
4 dragons for Curse Academy. Baron in Fusion's hands. 2 minutes until that next dragon is up. Fusion have to make moves with this Baron buff that puts them in a position to get that next dragon and keep it away from Curse Academy. You have to push your side waves, you have to push all your waves, keep them pushed up, and don't allow them to push back until it's time. You can possibly split push with somebody. Mac Noon does not have his teleport, so he can't TP into the fight if he split pushes a side lane. It's really like not the ideal situation, but Fusion have to make the most of this Baron.
They certainly have to. They've got some time before Dragon comes up as well to start contesting that one. They may need to get a little bit back to maybe take some tower push in here, but Curse Academy's sticking together.
So Nintendo, been talking about his KDA, but he's been a glorious god for this team and saving them.
Yep.
But look at this. He's going straight in because they want to
fight. He takes the fight right away. Glebe, his health bar is melting, but so is Keen's. Who he's trying to get the jump on, but they're going to lock him up with Hanser's ultimate, the Ice Prison, and he goes down before he can even dash out of there. Now they're chasing down Nien Cop, going on the killing spree. Nintendo X saying, get in the pit with me, but he's going to be all by his lonesome. 4 for none, and a triple kill goes over to Cop.
And they couldn't make any use of that Baron. Instead, they go for the team fight, and it doesn't work out for them. Mac Noon, he backs, and then he just walks straight up. That's all he can do.
He can back really quickly. That's what he can do with that Baron right now.
4 seconds, cuts it in half.
2 towers. Oof.
Multiple towers. Gonna get themselves the inhibitor off of this too.
Oh, they might get Mach Noon. Yep, he gets his Zanya's on, but he's not got anywhere to go. Or maybe he does. Keen's gonna chase him through, doesn't land the shurikens, and he's able to get out of there, but he can't even get to his own base, and he burns down. That kill going over to Keen, and again, they just keep wiping him up.
Where'd he go?
Into the dragon pit.
To the 5th dragon for Curse Academy. It might be the nail in the coffin that they need to bring it to a Game 3 and almost to get that much closer to the LCS.
If they win this, they're within 1 game. It's within their grasp, and if they do here, Fusion, they will be in a very familiar situation. Who, he's gonna wait to the last second. Oh! Looking scary. Still able to make him flinch.
5 dragons is still really crazy though. Nintendo was talking about his KDA. It's not very good, but he has been buying time for his team. He got a Baron for them. He got them one dragon that delayed this 5th dragon, and they took this team fight, which did not work out for them. Glebe immediately tried to disengage everybody so they could pick off Bunny, but they were going after the support there. Huhi, ultimate, but he still was hit by Lissandra, able to Zhonya's, but then he's picked off. High priority members just completely turned into stragglers very quickly.
Nintendo seemed to hesitate for quite a bit there, seeing if his team was going to disengage, and that's not good in a crucial couple of moments when he still had his Cataclysm up. He got it on when almost nobody was around to follow up.
Yeah, and he went for Bunny there, and Glebe tried to disengage the fight, but it wasn't a fantastic move from the Janna. He just kind of grouped everybody up still, and then they continued to fight. There's no real disengage that actually happened. They're sitting in this bottom lane, but Curse Academy aren't going to go for it. They're going to go for a different lane.
There's no one here to answer. Yeah, they have to get back in a hurry. So you see Nintendo, Glebe, they're already back there. Huhi as well, but this siege
the
can
5
happen.
dragons.
And there's only one member. Well, there's no members with Baron buff anymore, so they're not going to be able to empower those minions up. Here we go.
They have 5 dragons. That is so much power when destroying turrets and champions. This might be the final fight coming up here in just a second to take this game.
And Glebe, they're so low right now, and they just can't really get in here to take these fights to Curse Academy. They can only try to fend off this push, but it seems like it's a matter of time. Here comes the man drop. They're going to try to get in on here. Nintendo trying to be a hero, but he just can't. That's a big bunch of burst right there. Hanser might go down in this one, but they're still on the inhibitor. Huhi and Macnoon around the side, trying to make things happen. Huhi's caught on the line. They immediately pounce on him, turning onto Macnoon. Keen with the damage. They come up with a kill there. They're looking for Glebe. They're looking for Nien. He's trying desperately to get back to the fountain, but he can't just make it just yet.
Look at that. They're chunking the turret down because they had that extra turret destruction. They don't even need minions, but they're still going to get them for themselves because they don't want to take that damage. But look at how quickly they go down.
They have so much damage here on this side. Those 5 dragons will certainly help you out here. Minimal minion waves, and it's only Glebe standing. I can't help but thinking this is going to be it. This is going to be game number 2, and Curse Academy are 1 game away from making it into the LCS.
You see how happy Bunny Fufu is.
It's a big relief.
In the back row there. Very happy with his performance in these last 2 games on that Thresh, having his most played champion, his favorite champion. Very comfort picks for them.
They got the exact same composition twice, minus the jungle pick after 3 bans.
And it was arguably a better one. It was arguably a better jungle pick for them because it fit into the dive composition.
Yeah, on the other hand, Fusion, they've been in this situation before, just a day ago. Last time, they got talked to. There's Magic in the booth trying to calm them all down. Just keep them in the right mindset. Everybody reset. You still got games to go. You're still in this one. So if they can come back to this, they've been in that situation before, and they prevailed. If they can do it against Curse Academy here, it'll be absolutely massive for them. But this is the last chance here in this match.
Yeah, very item dependent up in that cast, and you can see Macnoon there. He did not have a good game at all. Was sitting very low on the damage charts. Just kind of, if you combine the jungler and the support's damage, you basically get his, but then his damage is a third of the damage of like the next 2 people in front of him. So his damage was extremely low that game, very item dependent on that cast-in. They first picked that. The priority that they put on that cast-in over locking in something like a Pantheon or a Jarvan or taking a Corki away was really questionable because it just didn't play out for them. No gold. He had so little gold that game. Basically the same amount of gold as Bunny Fufu.
I think it's a big part of it is that pick and ban, and it's going to be difficult to see what they have to change getting forward because they've been clearly utilizing a pretty one-dimensional strategy there, just trying to take their really powerful comfort picks, but also taking away a lot from St. Vicious. But it just hasn't worked out. You can't ban this guy out, and they'll have to be thinking about it going forward into game number 3.
And this is the beauty of St. Vicious is when he streams, he's always streaming like new junglers, trying things out. He's trying to be an innovator, and he's like, all right, let's try this, like A to Z champions, and we'll be like, all right, which one seems to work? He'll try like Hecarim jungle. He'll be like, oh, Shyvana got some changes. Let's try Shyvana. Okay, she's not good. Or he's like, okay, let's try this champion, and then it turns out to be great. He's like, Karthus is fantastic. So I feel like Saint has a really big edge on this patch.
We'll have to see how they do going into game number 3, but for the time being, we're going to be sending it over to the stage where Dash is standing by for an interview.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm standing here with Jerome Kinna-Phillips, who is the manager for Team Fusion. And a rough start, starting 0-2, but this is not an unfamiliar situation for Team Fusion, and you guys managed to come back 3 games in a row yesterday. So I have to imagine, regardless of the current standings of the score, you're still confident that your team can pull this victory out.
Oh, I'm definitely still confident that we can pull out the victory. I mean, yesterday, like you said, we were down 0-2, and we came back from that. We have a lot of experience scrimming against Curse Academy, so I think that we know what we need to do to come back in this one too.
Fantastic. Now, moving towards you now, what was your start in league? I think a lot of people are always curious about where the people are coming from that fill these positions on teams as managers and analysts and things like that.
I actually didn't start with League at all. I was a pretty well-known player in World of Warcraft. I played under the name Kinesthesia and Vodka. We had a couple, US first kills and all that kind of thing. I moved into doing strategy guides for that. I did a lot of YouTube videos, and that's where I got picked up for this gig, actually. The owners, they play WoW as well, a little annoyingly too much, actually. They picked me up for my video skills, and then I transitioned because I was the only mature person in the organization into being the team manager.
All right, well, that's very interesting. It's always interesting to see how games can interact and even coming from different companies and different types of game as well, MMOs to MOBAs and things like that. Now let's move to the creation of the team, because it's something we've touched on before, but I find continually interesting is the fact that this team is only 2 months old. So give me a little insight into the building of this team.
It was, for lack of a better word, a little haphazard almost. We originally wanted to buy an LCS team back in August. We tried with LMQ, and that ended up falling through. It didn't work out very well for us. And that left us with a pretty short time period to put together a full team for this competition. I think the first people we brought on board were our coaches, Dynasty, Magic, and BSIN. And through their contacts, they were able to find the right players for our situation.
So then, with only 2 months' time, bringing all these people together, what was it that you did in order to build the synergy needed to get to a place like this where you are in a series to qualify for the LCS?
I think our #1 priority when we were putting the team together in order to build synergy was just to get them all in the same spot as quickly as possible. So we wanted to make sure we had the house ready, we had their equipment ready. So even if we didn't know who was going to be on the team, once we had them, they were ready to play together and start learning each other's ins and outs and what works and what doesn't.
All right, so one final question is returning back to this series at hand. You've got your coaches back there talking to them right now, but yourself as a team manager, if you were there, I'm just curious, what would it be that you say to them to get their heads back into this game and propel them to that 3-2 run back?
I think if I were to go back there, the only thing I would tell them is just to believe in themselves. They know what they're capable of. They know that they can pull this out if they focus and they really pay attention to what they're doing, and just have fun. Make sure that they're playing to the best of their ability. That's all I would say.
Well, the games have been exciting regardless, and hopefully they do have those thoughts running through their head as they move into this next game. Thank you very much for taking the time to interview with me. We are going to throw it back over to Pyra and Zyrene to get us into Game 3.